there was some news that kind of came out before we came into the studio about Virgil Van Dijk. James Pearce put a tweet out, but it looks like it's come from the press pack.
The mixed zone post Fulham, yeah.
Yeah. Now, we have got the audio. How well this will work, we're about to find out.
We'll find out together, eh?
Yeah, let's do it. Lewis Steele has posted the audio of this. Virgil van Dijk speaking in the mix zone.
Progress, yeah.
So are you staying in Liverpool next season?
I don't know, we'll see.
It comes out, carries on. Oh. It's not nowhere near done.
What sort of progress is there?
You don't know. No. Listen, these are internal discussions, and we'll see.
Liverpool fans are quite
good.
No, one more.
For you to stay.
Crying?
Yeah.
Well,
in a good way.
Listen, I love the club and I love the fans, and today as well, they were there for us again, and unfortunately we couldn't reward them, but I want them to be there Sunday again and make the stadium an amazing venue, like always.
That's us.
So right, there was someone posted something in a group the other day that he was at some event in
Cadbury event.
Yeah, something about pre-season, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he initially answered a question, and it was quite a positive answer, less so than that, but still very positive. And then later on, he basically remarked that it's from about pre-season plans with Liverpool, so everyone was like on it like a rash, as you may well imagine.
Yeah,
so,
looking forward to what are you looking forward to? Looking forward to a pre-season with Slot, and it's like, hey,
said that.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
But yeah, coming out and saying that again, I just think Van Dijk's conducted himself brilliantly throughout all of this, Dan. You know, he's done it how I think it should be done. He said all along he wants to be a Liverpool player. He clearly loves the club. He loves being captain. He's really taken to the role. He sees this is a place where he can still fulfill ambitions that he's got in his career. But he's been respectful the whole way throughout it, and yeah, I just think it's played out there. And I've said for me, he's the one for me. Like I would give them all new contracts, but Virgil is the ultimate priority as far as I'm concerned anyway. But we've had a little inkling for a while. He did shut it down a few weeks ago. I think it was maybe in a post-match interview with Sky.
There was a lot of talk a few weeks ago that it was a done deal and it was signed, sealed, delivered, and he was sticking around. He played that down because clearly it wasn't the case. They were just rumours, murmurings, whatever. But to give him his due, like you touched upon there, I know factually every single post-match in the mix and he's done that conversation. Now, it's never been as positive, it's never been as far down the line as what it was there. That is the most, hopeful update we've had thus far. But he's come out, as the captain does, but he's fronted up to it. He's never deviated from it. He's answered it. Every single week he's provided updates when asked. He's never shied away from it. So, yeah, I think he's conducted himself and handled it absolutely superbly well.
It's a point that what you're referring to there, and Paul Gorse talks about this, is he sees speaking to the local media as part of his captain's responsibility. So he does, the Echo it's such hard craft being the Echo sports writer or Liverpool writer now compared to 10 years ago, or 20 or 30 years ago, when you used to be asked in with open arms, invited into the training, come and have a cup of tea and get free chats with everyone. Doesn't work like that. So it's good that he keeps those lines of dialogue open. But yeah, it's positive. It's there. I think we all need that. I think the Trent one looks like it's going to be what it's going to be. Still not 100% publicly confirmed, of course, but this is the kind of boost I think we could all do with right now. Just get it done, but in the short term, at least feeling like it's going to get done.
Yeah, and if of all three of them were to leave, that would probably be the one we would miss the most because of everything he brings to a squad environment, to a club environment. He came into the club and said, right, chill, I've got this. I'm going to show you all how to be super chilled out, play football the right way. We spoke about it recently. He's probably the best footballer in the club, as well as the best centre-back in the club and your leader. And when you put those three things together and you consider a future without him, it's terrifying. Absolutely. And he's an IQ player. So someone recently said you could put him alongside a speed merchant and he could play with his IQ and he could play till he was 38, 39. He's got everything that Thiago Silva had, and then some. So there's a very strong potential that he sits in alongside a slight change in the way that we play. This is why, the alleged figures for Konate's salary. Konate potentially is that guy that plays alongside him with all the pace and the power, and then you sort of regen sort of Andy Robbo, and you go with a right back full of beans, and then suddenly you've got a system where you can allow him to stay for years. Yeah. And everything he brings, consummate pro. You just said it yourself. He speaks to the media really well. Doesn't put a foot out of place. He is pivotal to anything and everything we do in the short, medium, and you could argue a little bit long term as well.
Just quickly, sorry, on the back of that, absolutely nailed it. But the stability, because we're having conversations around a little bit of a mini reset upheaval in the football club, possibly, a contract lad walking away for free, and, changes left, right and centre, new left back potentially that side of him, new right back on the other side. Who knows what the rest of the squad looks like? Having your captain stick around is fucking helpful in those circumstances, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if that's the case, Andy. We've lived it through Gerrard, of when you become a wane in power but you're a superstar at the same time. There'll be a similar issue with Salah, but better to solve that problem with them at the football club than walking out in June 1st and going, shit. Exactly what Dan says there. You're putting potentially 3 new defenders into a back 4. You've already got to replace your most prolific attacker potentially in all that as well. Yeah, getting the skipper box gives everyone a lot of breathing space, even if he doesn't have 5 years left at the top of the game in him.
Yeah, I think he might well do have those 5 years left, but you're right, we don't know. This was always the one I was most confident about. I was never really in any doubt in my mind, for whatever reason, that Van Dijk wasn't going to sign. Obviously, it looks like Trent's going to go, and we're maybe 50-50 in Salah, maybe 60-40 in favour of him staying. But it's great news that Van Dijk is staying, because I think looking forward towards next season, we've already talked about some of the players there that we maybe think are going to go and are trusted. I think we need a little bit of a revamp of the forward line. And right now I'm thinking, well, that's exciting from a point of view of Premier League champions. If you then throw in losing your captain and your best player and potentially the best defender to ever, well, he is the best defender ever to play for Liverpool in my opinion. If you then throw in losing him, that excitement becomes trepidation then for me. And it becomes, we could be going,
when you then ask how are Liverpool going to do the next season, Liverpool are installed as favourites because they're the reigning Premier League title. They're not, because it's not the same team. Because he's so good and so important, you can't lose. The only other player like that is Alisson at that sort of level. That if you lost Trent, Van Dijk, Salah, and Alisson type player, or any combination of them, it's not the same football team. I'm sorry. It goes back to the whole Chicago Bulls last dance type thing. You're lucky to have assembled players, because anything could have happened. Van Dijk might have ended his career with his knee injury. We might not have seen the same level player come back. So he's been fortunate that he's got what he's got that's enabled him to do it. You've got the best in class there. It means you can more accurately predict how good Liverpool are going to be, because they've still got boss players.
And I think Steve, you mentioned earlier in the show about how we play so much through the right back when Trent's playing, and that's where our creativity comes from. I think so much of how we defend and how many men we can throw forward is down to the fact we've got Van Dijk at the back. You think back to the derby where Beto gets a couple of chances because Van Dijk fluffs his line a couple of times. So the reason that he is 1v2, I suppose, with those two is because we trust the fullbacks to go up. We trust the midfield to go up and commit men to attacks because we've got Van Dijk at the back. And the very rare occasions, I don't really count the COVID season because that was just a mess, but there was a couple of times, I think Wolves last day of the season, a couple of years ago before we played the Champions League final, whereas Konate and Gomez play. I think Van Dijk has an injury or a suspension maybe. It's all over the place. And any time there's been any combination where Van Dijk hasn't been there, just because we're so used to that constant of Van Dijk, it has been a bit all over the place. And you would then have to take that transition next season and those teething problems. And it's just another thing that we don't need to think about.
We need to think about what his long-term replacement looks like. But I think he's an example of a player that's damn sight easier to find his replacement when you've got him there already. Because you've got someone, you've got a measuring stick. You can stand them against Van Dijk. Van Dijk can hand certain things over. Listen, it might well be Quanta. He's had a poor season by his standards from last year, but he's so young. He's got so much room for development. I think what Van Dijk was probably playing for Groningen at this age still. So nowhere near the level that Quanta is at now. Van Dijk was at this stage of his own personal development. It could be Konate. In years to come, could be moved over and something else happens, etc., etc. Or they clearly were interested in Lenny Yoro last summer. There could be someone else out there that you bring in this summer and he's learning the ropes. But yeah, all things so much more. I'm so much more confident about them. I'm sure the squad would be, and it puts them on a far greater footing if they keep the skipper around, and that looks positive, which is great.